listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Ow, things are breath. Ow.
You probably have questions about COVID vaccines. Here are some answers about how they're being made.
How are COVID vaccines being produced faster?
Usually, vaccine testing and production are separate steps. But because of the pandemic, vaccines are being developed on parallel tracks. So both steps are happening just at the same time.
How are the vaccines being tested?
Right now, several different COVID vaccines are in testing. Each go through multiple clinical trials with up to thousands of volunteers.
How do vaccines get approved?
Not all COVID vaccine versions will make it to the final stages of testing and approval. Produced vaccines that do not pass clinical trials will be destroyed. But for those that do pass, a team of medical experts will examine test results and possible side effects. If the vaccine is effective and safe, it gets approved and gets to you. Go to covidvaccinewa.org to learn more. A message from the state of Washington.
This is Brenda Charles Edwards, host of Seniors Matter. Join me every week to get information on activities and issues that impact the lives of older adults and their families. That's Seniors Matter every week on Rainier Avenue Radio.
This message is brought to you by Public Health, Seattle and King County, the Washington Department of Health, Washington Chapter AAP, and Within Reach. No matter where your classroom is, whether in person or online, routine vaccinations protect your child from serious diseases like measles, mumps, and chickenpox, and they keep your child safe, healthy, and thriving. Need help finding a provider? Visit parenthelp123.org or call the Help Me Grow Washington hotline at 1-800-322-2588.
You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio,
your community radio station.
Well, I love the sound of shattering glass, as you know. Hello there, world. Bettina Carey here, and I am here live on Rainier Avenue Radio.world, where we're helping you to shatter glass ceilings right down to the floor. And for those of you that are new to us, I'm founder of WeEmpowerYourLife.com, the website, and the We Empower You global community of like-minded people and an empowerment movement that's designed for coaches, authors, and entrepreneurs. In a recent article about solo aging, which two words all of themselves, I found this paragraph that really spoke to me. Growing older without a significant other or adult child means solo agers will need to build a team, including extended family, trusted friends, and paid professionals who can help with their finances, make medical decisions if incapacitated, and prevent them from becoming isolated as they age. Are you at that age? I know I am. I'm traveling solo. And even if you're traveling with a partner, you need to have your affairs in order and to make it a top priority. At least that's what I believe. And today's returning guest, attorney Rick Gregorek, is an estate attorney friend that I've known for many years and that is going to wow us with his knowledge as an estate planning attorney. And particularly, we're going to focus on dementia and Alzheimer's diseases. Those topics are very near and dear to my heart, as I mentioned last week. But let me tell you a little bit more about Rick before we get started. Rick Gregorek is the sole member of Gregorek and Associates, PLLC. He established a law firm to provide legal and tax services to individuals, couples, families, and closely held businesses. But prior to the practice of law, Rick had a diverse, distinguished career that began in the medical corps of the U.S. Navy, which I want to thank you for your service, Rick. And following his military experience, he held a variety of demanding positions in engineering and accounting for a Fortune 100 consumer goods manufacturing company. His financial management talents led him into the defense and aerospace industries, where he held an array of increasingly responsible, complex project and program management positions for one of the nation's leading aerospace firms. I wonder who that could be. And Rick draws upon his experience in education to provide unparalleled representation and counseling to individuals, families, and closely held businesses. Rick's counseling, planning, and drafting ensures that his clients' goals and expectations are integrated into a personalized plan. And it is with great pleasure that I welcome you back as a returning guest here today, Rick. come on down on the stage. There we go. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and we'll get you in here. Thank you so much for joining us. One more try on the unmute. There we go. Come on in. So while Rick is unmuting there, I do want to mention that not only have I known Rick for a very long time, but when I recently saw him a couple of weeks back, I said to him, I liked you then, but now I like you even more because what you are talking about is near and dear to my heart. And it is that conversation that we're about to have, although we're having a little technical challenge here. So there you go, Rick. Wonderful. Welcome.
Well, of course,
I
here
think we're buffering
I'm not
again,
sure
huh?
if the snow is affecting us or not. Yes.
So I'm going to
My
have you
goodness,
take
I'm
the
not sure
mic.
what to. The glass.
If you want to go ahead and just keep talking a little bit, and hopefully it'll stop buffering a little bit. We were going to cover
You hear it?
Alzheimer's, dementia, and
not,
the
it's
impact that
not
a
showing.
POA, a power of attorney, can have on someone's life. Still buffering, huh?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We might actually have to technically, I think what I can do is bring you onto my cell phone, and then I'll call you and see if we can't get some audio here.
Try.
We'll give it a minute. Okay, I got an audio here.
Yeah.
Oh, I have you.
Okay, let's go ahead and have you speak into this mic and turn the other one off.
Let's go. All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have muted my microphone. How are we doing there?
I think we're recording. I think you're good.
I think we're recording. I think you're good. We are certainly technically challenged here. I promise all of your listeners, I'm not like this when I'm doing your legal work.
No, it's okay, Rick. So tell us, what is a power of attorney and why should everyone have one in place?
Well, Bettina, when we're looking at doing estate planning, and we're looking ahead as to why we do estate planning, nothing could be more of a woman's issue. If we look at all of the demographics and aging parameters, and
oh boy, we're I think you're on your phone, Rick. If you wouldn't mind going ahead and turning your volume down so that your phone isn't being heard, and then we'll just use mine. We'll get this right. There we go.
I'm having trouble getting the feedback here. Okay.
Yeah.
How's that?
That's perfect. I've got you on the phone,
and
and
the radio. My phone's interfering with it.
yeah.
All right, that.
So,
for heaven's sakes.
I think we have to turn the volume off of your phone in order for just this mic to be heard.
My volume was all the way down. So
And mute the phone as well. Mute the phone as well.
Oh, okay, well, let's try that.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're golden. We're having some technical difficulties here with the buffering on Rick's end for some reason. So let's see, Rick, if you can address that question on the phone, that would be great. And tell us a little bit more about POAs. Oh, yeah, there we go. I think with your phone muted, though, now that I'm realizing it, we're going to have a challenge.
So with my phone, I just unmuted. So is that better?
Yeah, that's better. There you go. Okay, go ahead and tell us about the POAs. The Word on the Power of Attorneys by Rick Gregorek. Coming down the pike here.
Okay, I think I'm hearing a little bit about it. And are you hearing me okay? Just a hands up.
We gotcha.
I'm sorry this isn't working.
That's okay. We got your voice now. So go ahead. Tell us a little bit about power of attorneys.
I'm not hearing anything presently.
Oh, I'm a little perplexed what to do. So, Daniel, would you mind going ahead and putting up the little commercial that we normally run at the end? Thank you. 2022 has been challenging for all of us. I believe the answer to the question, what's next, is together. I'm Bettina Carey, founder of WeEmpowerYourLife.com. And with the help of thought leaders, newsmakers, and game changers, I'm working to build a community of trust, and you're invited. If you have felt the pains of loneliness and anxiety in this unprecedented time of isolation, We Empower Your Life offers fellowships, mentors, and guides to help you avoid life's roadblocks and get to now faster. Are you concerned about your future in the face of possible recession? We Empower Your Life challenges you to think in abundance mindset. And we're all working to take our finances from good to great. You won't be alone on this trip. We Empower Your Life features entrepreneurs, coaches, startups, and community leaders from around the globe, all reaching for that next rung and looking to help someone else up as well. We do not think we have all the answers, but we do think together we can ask all the right questions. I've decided to thrive in the face of turmoil, and I want you to thrive too. Do that by claiming one of the first 200 free tickets, courtesy of gracious sponsored underwriting. Tickets and information are WeEmpowerYourLife.com, or scan the code if you're watching on TV. We'll see you at the summit. Okay, so I have Rick Gregorek on the phone now, and I'm hoping to finish this interview with you, Rick, while we are on the phone. So tell us a little bit about what is a power of attorney and why should everyone have one?
Well, that's a great question because it's probably one of the most important documents people can have. And there's kind of two things we look at with powers of attorney. One would be to manage our finances, pay our bills, and the other would be to interact with our medical providers and assist us with our medical care and medical decision making. And the whole idea behind a power of attorney is that you, as what we call the principal, who's going to create the power of attorney, you are going to appoint a person we call an agent to act on your behalf when you otherwise may not be able to act due to, advanced age, illness, Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is just so prevalent today as we age. And having a properly drafted power of attorney that authorizes your agent to do the types of activities that are necessary for you. And of course, these are different for each of us, but making sure that our power of attorney addresses those needs that we may have or we may encounter during any type of disability, be it short-term or long-term. I always tell most of my clients that you could have a short-term disability, say from a car accident, and you're wrapped up for 6-8 months.
Right.
Can you imagine what would happen to your finances and even your medical decision-making in that period of time if you weren't able to provide for yourself? And so in doing a power of attorney, it's very important when you sit down with the attorney to, make sure the attorney understands your full situation, has a good snapshot of your health and family history of health or what might be. And then, then the really tough decision becomes, whom do you choose to be your agent?
Wow.
It has to be someone who is available. They have the time. And most importantly, they have the desire. And then I'll have to say the necessary skills. So if you're, depending on your particular situation, sometimes it's very difficult choosing. Now, the majority of people, when they're choosing an agent, end up choosing their children. While this can be a great choice in some cases, it can be an awful choice in others. And then some people don't have a number of children to choose from or have a limited number of people. So we have to have an expanded discussion on whom would be that agent. And that may end up being a professional or a kind of like a trust bank, a professional or corporate type of agent. So a lot goes into it. And one of the things we want to be very careful of when we do a power of attorney is picking that right person, because that person you choose as your agent, they will have access to your money, your funds, and there's not really anybody keeping a real close eye on them. So we do need to make sure that they're of the highest degree of integrity in that. So does that help a little bit on powers of attorney? They're a very simple yet complex document. And I do caution people about going online and just picking some random power of attorney, because it may or may not be compliant with state law. And it may or may not address the issues that you need in your power of attorney. So, there's kind of two traditional avenues that we have for powers of attorney, and that's, come in, sit down with the lawyer, go over that. Usually that's going to be done in the wider context of creating your whole estate plan, consisting of either a will-based plan with powers of attorney or possibly using a revocable living trust, then supported with a backup will called a pour-over will, as well as powers of attorney as well. So kind of figure out which system fits you best, and then how those documents are individually tailored towards you. And for the majority of folks in our area, if you own a home, you've got your 401k or IRAs, and we start adding up all of your assets, and my goodness, all of a sudden you're over a couple $1 million. And so these are the types of estates. If you do have a, $1.5 million, 2 million or more estate, that's really kind of says you need to see the attorney. Now, for our clients or potential clients, we do offer a self-help online platform called Guider, which you can reach through our website, which is just yourpartnerinlaw.com. And on Guider, that is a self-help plan where you can do a will and powers of attorney and a healthcare directive. The difference between using Guider on my platform from every other platform out there is that before you execute those online documents that you answered all these questions to, I'm going to personally review that for you to make sure it's appropriate and correct, and then give you some options on whether or not you would like to have an in-office review or execution. So even though you might be able to do your documents online, they're going to be reviewed by a local Washington attorney, me, and then if there's any discrepancies in what you're doing, we'll have a conversation and figure out what's the best planning. So there's options for everybody out there. If you have a modest estate, you're younger, you're single, you don't have this multi-million-dollar estate, you may not need to have a expensive, if you will, estate plan drawn up through an attorney. But if you were to go to yourpartnerinlaw.com and check out Guider, there's some really great information there to help you prepare your own power of attorney, but then have it reviewed by me for appropriateness before you execute it. And then we make sure that you do execute those documents properly, because powers of attorney, healthcare directives, wills, things of that nature, oftentimes are rejected because they weren't properly signed and executed.
Right.
So we want to make sure that that phase of the process is done as well. You have the greatest document in the world, but if it wasn't executed right, it's not going to be legally enforceable. So that's one of the things we want to make sure is when we craft these legal documents, that they work when they need to work. I mean, if you're disabled and you need that to work and it doesn't, now you're in a world of hurt.
So when is a good time to draft these documents? Because I know that as people have or are experiencing themselves or have family members that have Alzheimer's or dementia, you know, in the very beginning stages, it seems like just a little memory is missing here and there, and then it can decline rather rapidly. What's your advice on when to actually deploy the power of attorney in the first place?
You know, in doing your estate planning and setting up powers of attorney, I've always recommended if you're a grown-up, you need to do it. Now, in pragmatic terms, you know, as we cross the half-century mark and get into our 50s and 60s, it becomes ever more important. I would say one of the biggest mistakes people make is they wait too long. If you do get that cognitive impairment, Alzheimer's, or maybe you have a stroke or heart attack or Parkinson's or any other disease that might render you mentally incapacitated, you'd no longer be able to execute a power of attorney. And unfortunately, if you fall ill and you need that assistance and you have not named someone in a proper power of attorney, then you're going to be looking at state action called a guardianship, and where you may end up becoming a ward of the state and then having a guardian appointed for you. It may be someone that you would like. It may not be. It may just be some random person appointed by the court. So all of us attorneys always encourage clients, please do your planning no matter what the planning involves. It's far less invasive and far less expensive than if you ever have to go through a guardianship. So those are, you know, really tough. And if it's a guardianship over managing our money, that's called a conservatorship here in Washington. Where if it's a guardianship over making our medical decisions, that's called a guardian of the person. And so those are two different functions, just like they are in the powers of attorney. And the power of attorney, when properly done, will more often than not avoid the potential for a guardianship. And the beauty of doing it yourself is you can craft in it your wants, needs, desires. It's tailored to you. All of us are different. And so it makes no sense that one document, one set of choices would fit everyone. That just makes no sense. And when we sit down and talk with people, it becomes abundantly clear.
And it changes, I think.
Thought out. And none of us want to admit that we might become disabled. But the statistics are overwhelming. And as we age, and if we look at our population today, Bettina, you know, in not too many years, about 5-6 years from now, all of the baby boomers will be over 65. That's going to be over 20% of our population.
That includes me.
It's all of us. I'm right there. We're all in there. And so as we're looking forward, the need for planning is greatly heightened. And I can tell you right now that probably 20% of the people out there have a valid estate plan. The rest don't. Even some people who think they have an estate plan, they're the ones that they're not going to work. And those sometimes are very problematic. But,
so here's another question for you. So when does the POA get deployed? Because obviously a lot of times folks that are having declining memory issues want to hold on to their independence. They want to have control over their money, the choice of where they reside, and beyond what activities they have, you know, whether they're coming and going to the movies, shopping on their own. And so as a family member, as you're sitting back watching and wondering what's going to happen, when's the time to pull the trigger on that? What would you advise?
Well, Let's talk a little bit about that, because when a power of attorney is initially drafted for this estate planning, we call them durable powers of attorney, and durable means survives my disability. These powers of attorney can either be what we call immediate, in other words, they're turned on immediately and the agents can act immediately, or they're done in what we call springing powers. Springing powers is when a normal, healthy person, say someone like you, in creating your power of attorney. You don't need assistance today, but you don't know in the future when you might. So we create what we call a springing power of attorney. And then inside that power of attorney, then we're going to say, what is that triggering event? The most common triggering event is a diagnosis and a letter from your doctor stating that, due to your medical condition, that you have Alzheimer's, and in his medical opinion, you are no longer able to manage your day-to-day affairs. That's the most common. But there's other ways that your incapacity could be determined as well. It could be determined by family members. It could be by a small committee, 2 or 3 people. You trust and choose to do that. But you do bring up an interesting point that if we do suffer from any type of cognitive impairment, it can become very difficult to deal with that person. And they are, in fact, very resistant oftentimes to help. And this is the time
you would be, and so would I, right? Both of us would be resistant. I think most people want to hold on to their independence, continue to drive, and all of those things. That's the tricky part, right? So you've got a little bit to respect someone's right to do things. And at the same time, as a family member or a friend, you also want to preserve their life, keep them safe, help them manage their money, help them choose where they're going to live, because sometimes you think they're not going to live in a home of any kind, and then it turns out that might be the best place for them. So yes, I think that is a big factor, the independence or the right to choose and so on. And as I'm so loving this conversation, I'm realizing we only have about 20 seconds left. So what is your closing remarks? How can folks get a hold of you, Rick? And of course, we'll have to have you back again and again to keep talking about different aspects of estate planning.
You bet. We can reach me real easy at yourpartnerinlaw.com.
Okay.
And that'll get you right there to the website, phone numbers and all that. So it's just yourpartnerinlaw.com.
Okay.
And that's the easiest way. And one of the things I wanted to stress about estate planning and powers of attorney is the earlier we start in life, the better prepared we will be about certain things if they occur in our life, because that's what we're going to talk about in the planning process. What if this happens? What do you want to happen? If this happens, if you have Alzheimer's, you can't make your decisions. How do you want them made? Who do you want to make them? And how do we want to do that process? And I think that's a lot better than people who have done no planning. And then all of a sudden they, have this event, and now everybody's converging on them and they're scared.
Yeah. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much. I hate to cut you off there.
I understand. Thank
but
you.
We had a little technical difficulty there. Our next show coming up is the Reggae Hour, episode 137. I want to thank Rick Gregorek to come here on the show to get through these technical issues. Please watch us every Thursday, 1:30 p.m. on RainierAvenueRadio.com. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye for now. 2022 has been challenging for all of us. I believe the answer to the question, what's next, is together. I'm Bettina Carey, founder of WeEmpowerYourLife.com. And with the help of thought leaders, newsmakers, and game changers, I'm working to build a community of trust, and you're invited. If you have felt the pains of loneliness and anxiety in this unprecedented time of isolation, We Empower Your Life offers fellowship, mentors, and guides to help you avoid life's roadblocks and get to now faster. Are you concerned about your future in the face of possible recession? We Empower Your Life challenges you to think in abundance mindset. And we're all working to take our finances from good to great. You won't be alone on this trip. We Empower Your Life features entrepreneurs, coaches, startups, and community leaders from around the globe, all reaching for that next rung and looking to help someone else up as well. We do not think we have all the answers, but we do think together we can ask all the right questions. I've decided to thrive in the face of turmoil, and I want you to thrive too. Do that by claiming one of the first 203 tickets courtesy of gracious sponsored underwriting. Tickets and information are weempoweryourlife.com or scan the code if you're watching on TV. We'll see you at the summit.